Assalamu alaikum to all any of my Muslim brothers and sisters in the room. Peace be upon all of you. Thank you so much for this incredible opportunity. I'm a little raw today, so I promise my communications director I will keep it PG. But I can tell you, I do want to share the full statement I sent out. That was, very painful to see what's happening to my colleague, but I said something like, they put us in photos when they want to show our party is diverse. However, when we ask to be at the table or speak up about issues that impact who we are, what we fight for, and why we ran in the first place, we are ignored. To truly honor our diversity is to never silence us. So I want to start a little bit telling you about my mom, because I think, when you hear about someone saying you're optimistic, you have to meet my mom. My mom is the kind of person that never judges. If she sees somebody asking for money in the corner, she's always like, Mama haram, she's like, I wonder what happened. She never ever, she just pauses and still, and she even does a prayer. And opens up just so much generosity. And she's also a woman that just feels like all this hate is just, could really be simplified. Like, we can fix this. She's like, Mama, we can fix this. Let me tell you how she thinks we can fix this. And this is a woman that went up to 8th grade education, grew up in the West Bank in a little village called Beit Foka in Palestine, about 10 miles outside of Ramallah. And so my mom, Fatima, she, right after he president, he, individual won president. And he, right after, I think she was at a supermarket in Michigan, and she's going around, and she wears the hijab, so she wears the headscarf. And this guy proceeds to yell at her, take it off, take it off. And my mom, who, if you know anything about my mom, she really likes flip phones because they can fit in her hijab, and she can talk. You ever see those? You see some of my Muslim sisters do that. They kind of like have the flip phone underneath the scarf so it can like stand still. She's walking around grocery shopping while she's talking to her girlfriend. And she tells her friend, hold on a second. She goes, listen. She truly believes if everyone just knew this, no one would hate us. She goes, listen, you don't understand. Jesus was born in my country. And I swear, she just thinks if people know Jesus is Palestinian, and everything will be solved. Being a woman of color in this incredible class, when they talk about the squad, they only talk about 4 of us. Honestly, it's a larger group. I was telling Julie today about just this incredible amount of women who are unapologetic or courageous. Many of them are what we call frontliners that picked up seats that technically, was by a Republican, but they're still signing on to Medicare for all. They still believe in universal health care, signing on to the Green New Deal. So just be hopeful that there is this incredible, again, largest class since Watergate, that these, and many of them are women of color, that are leading the way to talk about, speak truth to power in many ways about the issues that matter to us in so many ways. Myself, Ilhan, and all of us, we watch that people are policing what we say. I mean, people are literally policing what do you mean by that, Rashida? Do you condemn this? I was like, I don't know, did you condemn that? No, really, seriously. I don't know, did you condemn it? Why are you asking me if I condemn it? Honestly, I've never felt more Palestinian than I ever felt in Congress. Even in Palestine, when I'm visiting my grandmother, I'm more American, like to the Palestinian people. But I'm more Palestinian in the halls of Congress than I am anywhere in the country, in the world. And that just tells you just the fact that they weren't ready for us. They really weren't, but we were ready for this. And let me tell you why that's so important. When I tell people over and over again, don't think that fellow Muslim Americans elected me. Fellow Americans, the majority of which do not share the same faith as I do or ethnicity, know me as Rashida, or Shida, Sharita, or Rasida, and I will answer to everything. No matter what, they remember what I represent, and that's the most important thing, that I will never sell out and I'll never back down, especially to corporate greed. And that's what people elected me to do. They went up, they didn't care, I was the best person. But when I got there, I knew if I carry you all with me there, that you will carry me. Because yes, the death threats hurt. Yes, it hurts when my mother has to call me and say, are you okay? I'm an American. I don't have to freaking keep saying it. I shouldn't have to keep saying it. So when I talk about impeachment, even if you don't agree with me, I am talking about a process that's about accountability. We do have a lawless president. We do. Don't let his character flaws, which are so awful, get you distracted. Don't let those tweets get you distracted. You have a president that is directly violating the law of the land. Anti-corrupt laws that were put there before I was even born, and many people in this room were born. They were put there because they didn't want a CEO running this country. They wanted to make sure there was nobody that was going to be able to buy their way into the corridor of power. And that's exactly what's happening, the interchangeability between them talking about the Trump organization, the businesses, and the Trump administration. And let me tell you why this is important. And my resolution says, listen, Judiciary Committee, investigate after he took the oath of the office to uphold the United States Constitution. Investigate whether or not he's violated the law. If these are impeachable offenses. And let me tell you why it's important. This will not be the last CEO that runs for president of the United States. And if we don't hold him accountable and say to him, you have to divest in your foreign and domestic businesses today. And why this is important, why I call this the upgraded version of pay to play. This is not shoebox of money, but my CWBA members know what I'm talking about. In the same week, the same breath, that T-Mobile is trying to merge with Sprint, which would hurt our community, not only our workers, but my residents, who that's accessibility to them for services, for cell phone services. T-Mobile trying to merge with Sprint, monopoly, people, okay? It's about corporate greed. In the same breath, they're spending $195,000 at the Trump Hotel in Washington, D.C. Would they have stayed there but for the fact that he's president? If they would stay there knowing that in 2017 he made $40 million. $40 million in profits while he was sitting in the Oval Office, while he was making decisions not in the best interest of the American people, but the best interest of his profit lines, because he knows this is a temporary gig for him. This is. So when he's tweeting in the same breath about my sister Lahan Omar, but the next tweet is about some sort of golf course somewhere, I don't know what country, understand, we have a sitting CEO that hasn't divested and is not complying, the first ever in history, with the anti-corrupt laws, the emoluments clause in the United States Constitution. We're setting a precedent when we say, no, let's not look into that. This is not the time, Rashida, not now. Well, when Truman went to war, President Truman went to war without going through that process, going through Congress, ever since then, every sitting president of the United States has gone to war without the checks and balances of the United States Congress. So don't let this be a precedent that we set. And we're getting distracted, folks. We are, from his character flaws and everything. We need to speak up against hate. We need to speak up about the just, unbelievable, un-American rhetoric that comes out of his mouth. But at the same time, we have to respect. We all took an oath. We all can't be held. I mean, if any of us did anything like that, we'd be prosecuted. We'd be held literally accountable to those things. And this is what is happening in our country, where I have Saudi Arabia spending $270,000 at the Trump Hotel. 3 foreign governments, two of the 3, always stayed at a different establishment. For the first time ever in history, they are now staying at the Trump Hotel, knowing, everyone knows, that's how you get to Trump. Spend money in his businesses. So when I say to you over 1,400 contacts, illegal contacts, if he thinks he doesn't say anything illegal, then let the hearings begin. And the hearings are not to say articles of impeachment. They're saying let's look into it, because if anything, we put notice out there to any CEO, you want to be president of the United States, you want to have access to the most powerful position in the world. You have to comply and divest your businesses. You have to walk away from all of that, because people have to come before profits. Now I want to get to what I asked the Human Rights Coalition for me to talk about, which is something that I might get upset about and emotional if I'm not upset enough. I can tell you my relationship with ICE, the Immigration Customs Enforcement, goes way back. I was pregnant probably out to here with my son Yusuf, who's going to be 8 years old in a few days. And my boy was in my stomach as I got a call. You know, I'm sitting there getting up, and I'm trying to get my little boy Adam to school. I get a call from one of my workers and said, Rashida, we have a situation. ICE is in front of Cesar Chavez Academy. I said, what do you mean, on Verner? They're like, yes. I said, well, they're not allowed to do any kind of operations in front of schools. It's against their own policy. They're not supposed to be in front of schools, funerals, or churches. There they are in their tinted SUVs. Not one, not two, like 3 or 4. Militant. Like we're going to war kind of thing. Coming out and pulling a father out of the vehicle of his children, with his children in the car. I was so upset. Because see, growing up in the most diverse community, I mean 20 different ethnicities in Southwest Detroit, people always focus on the southern border, okay, but we're part of the northern border. And the northern border, I've never seen more militarized than I've ever seen it. Before, we used to see the green people, which is Border Patrol, and the field operators were we call them the blue folks, which is the field operators with the blue uniforms. Now, I got people calling me, going around Clark Park running, asking them to see their documentation. People talking to me about checkpoints on Michigan Avenue in Clark. And we got people now, we have this whole, what do we call them, Consuela? Like our operations team that gets like our 911 kind of group of advocates that show up there and start videotaping it. What we call ourselves? You are so funny. And then we don't call each other Avengers. Consuela. Consuela, you are so funny. And so I can't recall rapid response. That's what we call them, thank you, Isra. We have an ICE rapid response in our own community of these mothers, many of them women, that we all call each other, and we show up and we start videotaping and recording documenting all these illegal actions. So, thank you. So, when you think about the children at the border, it is so hard for me because now that I'm there, I have more access to information. And we filed our subpoena. One of the first subpoena out of House Oversight was subpoena the Trump administration. We want the names. We want to know where they are. We want to know what they're doing to the children at the border. I like to follow the money. So I found out, no, I'm being serious. Is this really about immigration? Trying to fix it? No. Is this about some, white nationalism movement, supremacy? Yeah, maybe. Pretty sure, yup. But you know what it's more about? Geo Group and Civic Corps. Look them up. Those two folks were one of the bigger funders of the inauguration committee for Trump. The Trump inauguration committee. They're making so much money. Putting 20 kids in a cage. They can call it whatever they want. It's a fenced cage. You should see it. I have colleagues that just came from the border telling me it's still there. Some of them, because they're sleeping on pebbles, are bruised up. They have water scattered around, bags of chips. Some of the kids cry so much, they hold them down and they give them sedatives. Literally, they just eject them to make them stop crying for their parents. We are creating a whole generation of children who will remember what we did. They will remember we caged them like animals, ripped them away from their parents, and pumped them with drugs to make them stop crying. No amount of apologies will make this better. So when they say, look at them, they're so emotional. I'm a mother. I cannot imagine being away from my children. And our country, my country, is doing it. 4,000 children have already claimed they've been sexually abused. Some may take us 2 years to connect them back to their parents. We can't find them. The lawsuit by the U.S. Center for Human Rights and Constitutional Law is looking at what the children, they call it the cocktail of drugs. Without their parents' consent, they gave these children these drugs. Affidavits filed in April describe children being held down and ejected against their will. Being told, if you do this, you can get back to your parents. That's what they're telling these kids. Some of these kids are going to be 15, 16, some of them aging out. Do you know what they do with the kids aging out? They put them in regular prison, jail. With the rest, I'm serious, that's what they're doing to them. I wanted to talk about this because with everything else that I'm doing, and I'm doing a lot, I'm trying to fight pollution. I'm trying to be extraordinary for all of you in creating a voice around the issue around economic justice that we still haven't gotten a handle on. But in the midst of all this is this. Because I sat down next to this parent, this child, who was telling me, this is where I was born and I just don't know if I really belong here anymore. Where you hear about children talking about suicide. When you hear about people really starting to feel so completely helpless. And I'm so tired of our country just waiting years. That's what they're going to do. They're going to say, sorry, we did that to you all. This is the time for this coalition and for all of you to start speaking up. I want you not to only share things on social media, but pick up the phone because many of your Michigan delegation members need to also be loud and clear about this action. You know, there's so many movements that we're all part of. It won't take us getting that information from the subpoena only. You know what it's going to take? Movements outside of the halls of Congress, movements outside of White House. I want you all to shut them down. We can shut them down. Don't wait for this Congress to act. Shut them down. I know what they're going to say. They're going, what do you mean, Rashida? Well, I'll tell you, there are some people that are using hunger strike, all these other things, going to the border, and I plan to, and really elevating the voices of these young children that are innocent, that we are violating the core of who they are as human beings. We're treating them like animals. We need to speak up because I'll tell you, until this movement outside, again, the halls of Congress, that's where we got women's rights and civil rights. It wasn't because somebody introduced a bill. It wasn't because somebody passed a bill, it's because we demanded it. As I continue serving, and I will not be there for 50 years, folks, ain't gonna happen. But I can tell you, it just can't happen. What I can tell you is that I will continue speaking truth to power, but I also will be unapologetically myself. I'm never gonna be perfect. You know, there's those that want me to fit into this box. Many people in this room are okay with the way I am. There are gonna be those that say, those that say, well, we're just not ready for that now. Can we wait? Because they're so strategic. I said, you know, if we just do the right thing now, then we're doing what we need to do to win back the power, the corridor of power that he has literally taken away from the people. And let me tell you, this is not the first time that I've heard over and over corporate greed keep creeping into our democracy, tainting it. We still don't even have access to prescription drugs or universal health care, or trying to fight back against the banks and their continued discrimination towards African American home ownership. My God, Michigan lost more African American home ownership than any other state in the country. Did you know that? Did you? These are things that are happening because we're not holding them accountable. They're distracting us. We need to focus and start this movement and this revolution of telling the truth because it's powerful and it can change people's lives today. I'm there with you. I'm all about the inside, outside. My God, you know me. If I could take my bullhorn, and I got it with me. Take my bullhorn to the United States floor, the House, the congressional floor. I do it all the time. I literally have pens that have a bullhorn that say "Speak truth to power," reminding my colleagues they have the power of the letterhead. They have the power to convene. When they show up, other people show up. That's the kind of courageous leadership we need right now in this country. I'm tired of waiting. There's no sense of urgency, and there needs to be that sense of urgency. This is enough. I would leave you with a saying from Pastor Bland in my district, who said, we are not a country that's divided, we're just disconnected. So I want you to know this. When they're talking about militarizing our black neighborhoods with our local police or militarizing our border, we're talking about the same movement, the same people behind those curtains. When they're talking about corporate greed and what's happening, literally, they're all the same people. When it comes to our right to breathe clean air, our right to clean water, they're the same people behind the curtain. Don't let them divide us. When we connect like this, when we talk about it together, as this is part of who we are, this is where you build power, and this is where they don't win. So thank you so much. Thank you all so much for your, thank you.